This is the Sales Gravy Podcast. It's Wisdom Wednesday, where you drive the agenda. And on this segment of the Sales Gravy Podcast, you bring your biggest sales challenges, and Jeb Blount delivers his best answers. Those answers, they come straight from the trenches because Jeb's not just teaching sales, he's out there prospecting, closing, and leading sales teams every single day. Before we jump in, here's a quick update. The Outbound Conference, the biggest, baddest sales conference on the planet, is getting ready to announce its new dates and location. And tickets always sell out fast. So if you want to earn early bird access and discounted seats, head over to outboundconference.com. That's outboundconference.com and get on the waiting list right now. Next up is Adam and Laura from the Rosen Law Firm down in Florida.
All right. Next up on the show is Adam and Laura from the Rosen Law Firm down in Florida. Tell me what's going on.
We had an amazing workshop seminar with you. And after that, we are moving to a non-attorney sales team. And we are so excited. It's been, about 6 weeks since our workshop, and we're going all in on it. And so excited for the growth of the firm.
Yeah, for everybody listening, we met Adam and Laura in Dallas, Texas at a workshop we did for a whole lot of the top criminal defense firms across the country. And we had a really good conversation about the way you were going to market and your process and how some of the other firms were. So you've made the decision to shift into a non-attorney sales force. So tell me how it's going and what are the challenges or questions you have around that?
Ooh, well, Laura, you're doing? Laura's doing most of the behind the scenes and the and in front of the scenes and everything. So how's it going for you?
It's fun. It's been fun, actually. I'm very excited about it. I think going to that workshop, I think propelled what we knew needed to be done. We are finally eating the frog. Um, but one of the challenging things for us has been the salary because we have not traditionally been in the hiring a salesperson market. So I think we found some challenges around that and really understanding what that should look like and how to properly put it together. I think we're in a good place now, but we'd love some feedback on how to structure it.
Right. And because we can't pay direct commissions because we're run a law firm, so we can't fee split. But we have certain ways where we, upon certain completions of onboarding tasks, they can get certain bonuses. But yeah, that's definitely been something the last few days we've really been, going back and forth on.
Yeah, I think when you start thinking about how you're going to compensate these individuals, you're probably going to be in a situation because of the way that you can't pay commissions. Is you really want to start thinking more of performance bonuses based on particular goals. Those goals can, by the way, be law firm goals. They can be the goals for the entire firm. So, for example, at Sales Gravy, my firm, we have a KPA for everybody based on our profitability and our total revenue. And those are pretty easy things for us to measure because we can keep everybody informed. We know how much revenue we're producing. So everybody, even Grace over here who is producing, she has a role in that. And because the work that she does will produce leads or create the way people look at us or build more opportunity for us, everybody gets a little bit of a piece of the pie. So one thing I would think about is those key performance areas or key performance indicators. How can you pull those together in a way that creates a big enough incentive program, but also makes them part of the team. So they're part of the full success of the firm. As you build out a team of non-attorney sales people who are working for you, who are fielding calls from potential clients and then bringing those clients in and getting them signed, you can also think, Laura, about putting together a team goal. So you know what your run rate is or has been traditionally for the number of new cases you bring in every single month. You've got a marketing machine that pulls people into you. So once you understand what that run rate is, then you can start looking at the new clients that they sign over and above that run rate. And then as a team, you can provide some incentives for the entire team. And all those incentives don't always have to be monetary. They can be non-monetary incentives. They can even just be a trophy sometimes. You'd be amazed at how people will work for a
Mm.
trophy
Uh,
or work for recognition. But think about holistically how you put all of those pieces together and layer them. But I think ultimately you want to think about more of a bonus structure versus a commission structure. and then think about your non-monetary incentives and monetary incentives, but more monetary incentives as a spiff, not necessarily a commission.
Jeb, if we were to go to a mix of maybe individual and team goals, are you doing the team goals every month, every quarter? Is there a separate yearly goal? How do you work those?
I would do team goals every quarter because I think with salespeople, the timeline needs to be a little bit tighter. So, but I would do firm level goals over the year. Like, so I would look at your firm and say, I want everybody attached to the health of the firm or the growth of the firm, and I would have those as annual KPIs or KPAs. And then team goals I might do every quarter, and individual goals could be activity goals. Like if you have a goal where it's a follow-up goal or it's a how many calls you take this month goal, that type of thing. It's a conversion level goal. You might run those every single month. You're giving them some level of incentive or recognition around those particular goals. But I wouldn't do team goals monthly. I just think it gets a little bit it's too hard to measure. You wanna measure people on a 90-day period. You also wanna look at the unintended consequences of any incentive. So, as you start building incentives, sit down and start thinking about all the worst case scenarios. What are all the bad behaviors that could come out of this? They might not come out of, but think about them because there's no way that you can cover every worst case scenario, and because you're lawyers, this will be really easy for you because you're used to doing this. So, just go down that road and look at what are all the bad things that could happen, and if they're bad enough, don't do it. Or if it's gonna create another set of behaviors that you don't want, don't do that either. And certainly you don't want incentives that create compliance issues with you from a legal standpoint when it comes to onboarding new clients.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair point. We kind of ran into that issue of we didn't want to incentivize the wrong behavior, so we had to take a step back and say, well, maybe we don't want to put these obstacles in the way of the salesperson because instead we're going to incentivize them to not follow up on these certain types of cases. And so I see your point there, and I think we're seeing that already.
It's one of those things that I would say that if you start thinking about organizations that are putting together comp plans, quite honestly, I'd say 70% of the time nobody sits down and does the scenario-based worst case. What are the behaviors we don't want? So you end up putting a comp plan into place, and then you see, well, I didn't want these behaviors. And with salespeople, they're always gonna take the path of least resistance to where they're gonna get the highest reward. If you do that up front, some of it's kinda scary. You're not gonna be able to solve for everything, so you're gonna think, "Okay, well, I'm willing to take the risk that these behaviors happen." But what I have to do as a leader is watch, and if I see those behaviors happening, I need to get in early and coach them and let people know they're not okay. So I'm gonna create a disincentive for those behaviors through my leadership, not necessarily through trying to solve everything with comp.
Yeah, and I've seen like these big companies, corporations, I've seen their comp plans and they get so complex that they do actually have that is the path of least resistance and people end up okay, well, I got here and this is fine. I don't need to go any higher. And they're just so complex. And oh, if you do this, but then this and it's just it doesn't work. So we don't want to be that either. So I think we tried to keep it simple and like you said, incentivize certain things like follow up and certain behaviors, but at the same time be mindful. And so I think that that's where there's a little bit of back and forth, but then also we want to be fair to this person and we want to make sure that we're hiring a superstar, so we also have to pay, a superstar
Yeah.
salary as well, so
If you pay a superstar salary, then you feel comfortable that I can hold you accountable for those activities because I'm I'm already paying you for those activities. And that's one of the things that I'm glad you brought that up, but one of the things I've found, and it as a leader, it irritates me, and I push back really hard against this, is when you get people who say, "Well, you're not incenting me for that. You're not paying me for that. I'm not gonna do it." And I have to, like, sometimes just severely reprimand or really sit people down and explain to them, "I'm paying you a salary. The salary is for those things. I'm incenting you because I love you and I want you to reach higher, but you got a base salary, and you wanna make sure that you're covering that with people so that they don't say, 'Oh, I just get that anyway.'" And if most of your comp is salary, then you've got to explain, these are the
mm.
expectations, and be able to apply leadership and motivation and inspiration to people to get them to do those hard things without getting paid for everything.
If you've got a question for the show, Go to salesgravy.com/ask. That's salesgravy.com/ask and submit the form. One of our producers will reach out directly to you and schedule your session with Jeb. Now let's tie this up with a final thought. Adam and Laura's challenge at Rosen Law exposed one of the biggest traps that ambitious sales leaders fall into: over-engineering compensation plans to the point where they become counterproductive. Here's the brutal truth. Most comp plans fail not because they don't pay enough, but because they incentivize the wrong behaviors. Think about it. Every single compensation structure you create will drive specific behaviors. Your sales team will find the path of least resistance to the highest reward. So, if you don't think about the worst case scenarios up front, you'll end up paying people to do exactly what you don't want them to do. Here's what separates elite sales leaders from the rest. They understand that compensation is psychology, not just math. The best plans are simple. They reward the right activities and the right outcomes without creating a maze of exceptions and calculations that nobody can understand. For law firms and other professional services that can't pay direct commissions, the magic is layered in incentives. Individual activity goals measured monthly, team performance goals tracked quarterly, and firm-wide success metrics evaluated annually. But here's the key. You don't solve behavioral problems with compensation complexity. You solve them with leadership. Remember this. If you pay superstar salaries, you get to demand superstar performance. But if you try to nickel and dime every activity through micro incentives, you'll create a transactional culture where people only move when you pay them to move. So stop trying to engineer human motivation through spreadsheets. Build fair, simple comp structures that align with your business goals and then lead people to excellence through coaching, accountability, and inspiration. Because at the end of the day, money motivates people to show up, but leadership motivates them to excel. This is Jeb Blount Jr., and when you're tired and when you're ready to go home, always remember to make one more call. We'll catch you next time on the Sales Guru Podcast.
Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.